Hi there, I'm Dr. Melissa McCarthy, and today I'd like to talk to you about family-centered telepractice. And I'm going to explain what that means and how it can help you to build your child's language in real-life situations. When parents of children who are deaf or hard of hearing first contact me, they often say, "My child needs speech therapy." And my answer is always the same. Children don't learn language from a 1-hour therapy session. But many early intervention providers rely on this rigid and economical system that often is inflexible, inconvenient, and unsuitable for some families. And by focusing on what they think is important for the child, providers overlook what's best for the whole family. And your child's early years shouldn't be defined by a series of stressful and inconvenient therapy sessions. Family-centered telepractice is not about teaching the child. Family-centered telepractice is about working in partnership with parents to create opportunities for children to thrive in their families and their communities. What if you could actually spend less time in therapy sessions and more time enjoying your child's early years? Imagine if you could focus on being a parent instead of a therapist. What if you could feel confident to just make the right decisions for your family, no matter what the experts think, and take back control of your family's journey? How amazing would that feel? When your child is deaf or hard of hearing, I know there are a lot of unknowns, but one thing is always for certain. You want what's best for your child and your family. So you follow the advice of professionals and you search for services that can support your family and help you achieve your goals. For a lot of families, that meant traveling to see a therapist at their clinic or at a center. And in-person sessions can be very effective, but they're also stressful and time-consuming for families. You have to pack up the kids, you've got to travel to and from the clinic, and you have to squeeze the clinic schedule into your already busy life. And then COVID came along. Thanks very much, COVID, and just disrupted everything even more for families. But there was a silver lining, because therapists switched to telepractice and they promised the same outcomes without the inconvenience of in-person sessions. It sounded ideal for families. All the benefits of in-person sessions without the hassle of traveling to a clinic. But many families were left disappointed by telepractice because their children cried in sessions, the parents were stressed, the siblings were left out, and telepractice just didn't deliver what the therapist promised. So instead of being a convenient and effective solution, telepractice felt like a waste of time. Does that experience sound familiar to anyone? Well, here's what we know. Center-based sessions are effective, but they're inconvenient. And telepractice sessions might be convenient, but they're not as effective. What you really need are the benefits of the in-person sessions without the hassle of traveling to the clinic or the stress of telepractice. Ideally, you want to be having sessions in your own home. And home visits sound like the perfect solution. But depending on where you live, providers may not offer home visits, or they may only offer them occasionally. And sessions quickly become very expensive if you have to pay for the provider's travel cost, like families here in Australia do. But what if I told you there was an alternative? What if I told you there was another solution that was effective, convenient, inexpensive, and consistent? The real problem with telepractice is that most professionals are not providing family-centered telepractice. What they're providing is professional-centered teletherapy. They're focusing on the needs of the child instead of supporting the whole family. but we know that children don't learn language from a weekly therapy session. So here's how to tell the difference between teletherapy and family-centered telepractice. In a teletherapy session, you as the parent have a whole bunch of prep work to do before you connect for the session. Your child sits in front of the screen for the entire session. The professional tries to interact directly with your child. Your family has to buy special toys or props for the session. The professional designs specific activities to teach a particular goal. And then at the end, the professional assigns you some specific homework activities to do with your child throughout the week. And for many families, those conditions added up to distressed children, anxious parents, and frustrated providers. But it doesn't have to be that way. Family-centered telepractice focuses on the whole family, not just the child. In a family-centered telepractice session, there's minimal setup. You just bring the iPad or the laptop to wherever you are. Your child plays wherever they're comfortable. The professional coaches you to interact with your child, which means your child's more interested in what's going on. You can do what you would normally do with your family, including any other siblings, and sessions become more enjoyable. You just use whatever toys or props are around at the time. You and your child will feel more relaxed when you can play spontaneously, and it encourages your child's curiosity and learning. You can follow their lead. And goals fit in to whatever activity your child is doing at that moment, whatever routine is happening in your home. Your child can learn in meaningful, real-life situations, and you learn how to integrate learning into everyday experiences that you can then practice throughout the week. Family-centered telepractice is an innovative approach that is fun for your child, practical for you, and relaxed and enjoyable for everyone. I believe that parents are the single most important influence in their children's early years. Parents instinctively know what works for their child, and they can sense when something's not working. And we know that children learn language when they're surrounded by familiar communication partners and provided with multiple opportunities to engage in meaningful social interactions within familiar environments. So that means that children learn language by spending time with their families and participating in familiar routines and activities. They don't learn language from 1 hour of therapy a week. I want you to feel confident that you are making the right choices for your family and to feel fully supported in your role as the parent of a child who is deaf or hard of hearing. As COVID starts to settle down and the world begins to return to a new normal, people are really excited to get back to in-person sessions. But what I'm seeing is that more and more providers are moving their services to telepractice permanently. The uncertainty of future COVID outbreaks and the associated risks of illness and staff shortages are just too much for professionals to continue with in-person visits in the short term. And in the longer term, organizations will find it more cost-effective and efficient to use telepractice more often. But many parents are still reluctant to continue with telepractice. And that makes sense because most families are receiving teletherapy, not family-centered telepractice. Believe me, I understand how frustrating telepractice can be. I've worked with hundreds of families across Australia, and I established one of the largest telepractice programs at NextSense, formerly the Royal Institute for Deaf and Blind Children. And then in 2017, I left to complete my PhD on family-centered early intervention, which was published last year. And if you're interested in the research, You can Google Family-Centred Telepractice and deafness, and you'll find links to lots of my articles. And over the years, I've trained hundreds of early intervention providers, including teachers and therapists. And what I've found is that many of them aren't providing the services they promise, regardless of the setting. Whether they're working in a clinic, at a home, or through telepractice, many professionals aren't using best practice principles in their services. And I know this because I've spent the last 10 years researching best practices in family-centered early intervention. I've studied how professionals use family-centered practices, and I've looked at how families participate in sessions, and I've compared those results for telepractice sessions and in-person sessions. And here's what I found. Family-centered telepractice is as effective as in-person sessions, and potentially more effective. Because in family-centered telepractice, professionals use strategies that support and involve families more often than professionals do in person. When professionals use family-centered practice, families learn more, they participate more, they feel more confident, and sessions are more meaningful. And ultimately, that leads to improved outcomes for the parent, the child, and the family. Family-centered telepractice is an effective model of early intervention that supports parents who want to build language in real-life situations. Family-centered telepractice focuses on the whole family, not just the child. Because we know that children don't learn language from a 1-hour therapy session. You are the expert on your child, and you spend the most time with your child. Take advantage of that precious time together to build language and maximize your child's communication opportunities in real-life situations. If you spend 1 hour a week in a family-centered telepractice session, you can learn how to build your child's language in everyday activities and support your child to communicate for life. Imagine how many learning opportunities your child could have throughout their week. Instead of struggling through 1 hour of teletherapy with a professional, your child could be learning all day, every day, through meaningful interactions with their family. By making learning fun and integrating it into your daily routines, you can spend less time in therapy sessions and more time enjoying your child's precious early years, which means you can focus on being a parent instead of a therapist. You can feel confident that you're making the right choices for your family, and you can take back control of your family's journey. Family-centered telepractice isn't for everyone. I understand that. Every family is unique, and every family has their own priorities and needs. Different families will benefit from different types of early intervention models. But families who will benefit the most from family-centered telepractice are parents who want to partner with professionals, parents who want to decide what's best for their family, parents who want to make language learning part of every day, not an isolated incident, and parents who want sessions in the comfort and convenience of their own home. But mostly, parents who benefit from family-centered telepractice are families who want fun and joyful family experiences during the child's early years. So, if you want to build language in real-life situations, in your home, in a fun and playful way, then family-centered telepractice may be a good choice for your family. If you want to learn more about family-centered telepractice, you can visit my website at melissamccarthy.com.au.